I told you, some of you didn't believe me, but I told you that the future C63 would lose the V8 and turn into a 4-cylinder hybrid, which has now been confirmed. As I also said back then, it was going to come under the AMG E Performance brand, as started and headlined by the AMG Project ONE. But what I got wrong was the figures on offer. I thought maybe a small bump of about 10 horsepower to 520 brake, but AMG have gone and smashed this figure to pieces with a system output on this 4-cylinder unit of between 540 and 640 brake horsepower in a C63. It's insane. And the way they've done it, they've collaborated with Mercedes AMG F1, so high performance powertrains in the UK. And they've done such clever things which you won't have seen in many other places in order to create, or fill the void rather, left by the V8. We've got insane performance figures, one-to-one F1 technology, and even an EV mode in a C63. So let's dive into every single detail of how they've done it and check out the future 4-cylinder hybrid E Performance branded AMG C63 drivetrain. So guys, Nord have sponsored this episode. They've done sponsorships in the past for RBR, but I really wanted to bring them back because of a particular experience I had. I was away for about 6 weeks over Christmas and New Year in Pakistan. And like many of you, I do loads of work on my phone and laptop, and it's all internet based. But the problem of going abroad is, if I'm using my Instagram and I'm showing up as in Pakistan, my reels disappeared and my shop disappeared suddenly from Instagram because the app thinks that you're in another country. And this is true of many apps. You've heard the usual Netflix thing where your library disappears, you can't access certain things. That was true as well. Netflix, Disney Plus, I was trying to watch Mandalorian, etc. And then I realized, hey, I've got Nord on my phone from the last sponsorship. So all I had to do was quick connect to the UK. Not only did my Instagram revert, but I could access all of my TV shows and movies. It's like shopping on Google. You can't do it unless Google thinks you're in a certain country. So I'd really recommend get NordVPN. I've got an offer for you guys here. The code is RBR. Use it, and like with me, whenever you go abroad, you can just put it on and leave it. It works in the background. You never have to think about it. And it is as if you've never left home. So long, AMG V8. You will be missed in the C-Class family. Although guys, it's not all bad news because the V8 is going to have a long life in the hybrid family of AMGs, as my next video will detail. So everything above C-Class and onwards will have a V8 hybrid system which mimics what I'm going to show you today. So look out for that video. It's going to debut on new cars like the SL73 and the GT73E that I'm going to show you in that video. Now, to break down this new P3 hybrid system for the future C63, there are 4 main areas that we have to look at. First is the combustion engine itself, the M139. How is it changed from the A45 in the C63? Then there is the E-turbo within that combustion engine and its very special role. Then we get to the EDU, or the electric motor, which sits on the rear, and finally the AMG Performance battery. All these things linking together to make some crazy figure output in the end. So first, some headlines. The next C63 is all-wheel drive rather than rear-wheel drive. So it uses the 4MATIC Plus system, as we saw in the E63 and GT63S, and then you get that rear-wheel drive drift mode, undoubtedly in this, given how variable the power management is in this car. And although you lose the V8, as I said, the power on offer is insane in the top-level variant of this. We're talking continuous power of 540 brake and peak power of 640, and how that all works, I'll get into in a minute, but you're not going to be lacking for power. And speed, they say, is going to be well under 3.5 seconds as well. So very excited to see how that all works out. The first thing that we're going to start with is, in fact, the engine. Now, as I said, it originates from the A45. It is that same M139 engine. Of course, in that car, it was transversely placed, so almost sideways, and the entire aerodynamics and the setup of that engine was thusly placed. And that was the most powerful 4-cylinder production engine currently in the world. I say was because the one in this C63 is now the most powerful. This is longitudinally fixed inside the C-Class. And this now produces 440 brake horsepower approximately, just from the combustion engine. Now, how have AMG done this? Well, the main difference between this and the A45 engine is the E-turbo that I mentioned. This is a very special little unit because it gives you the quick response of a small turbocharger along with the high output figure of a larger turbocharger, all in a smaller unit. And this comes direct from F1 technology and comes directly from our AMG Project ONE hypercar directly into the C63. How insane is that? It's called an MGUH, or motor generated unit heat. And to tell you a little bit more about this new E-turbo, I'm very happy to welcome our first ever international host for RBR. He started off as a subscriber and a viewer just like you guys, eventually became a friend and now a colleague at RBR. So guys, please give a really warm welcome to Toby, who is sitting in a secret place in Stuttgart with the driveline with an AMG expert. Toby, catch.
Thank you, Raz, for tossing the Falterbach apple. And hi guys, my name is Toby. I am RBR's host here in Germany. And today I am reporting from a very special location here in the outskirts of Stuttgart. And as you can see right behind me, it's going to be really special today because, as you can see, we have something here right behind me with a 4-cylinder and some electric performance components. So right here we are going to look deep into all of the good stuff that's right here behind me. So let's get into it. As you can see, we have the new 4-cylinder here, first introduced in the A45S. And as you guys know, I'm a big fan of powerful 4-cylinders as a CLA 35 driver. But as you can see right here in front of me, we have an electric turbocharger. And now it's time to bring in the next expert.
Yeah, hi. Thanks. So as you said, it's the new M139 in a longitudinal way. And we added the electrified turbocharger in that kind of engine in the longitudinal.
So this is this bad boy that we're having right here.
Yeah, so the reason is at the end we now want to get out more than 330 kilowatt of that engine. So a little bit more than we have actual in the transversal engine.
Yeah, exactly. But let me stress that real quick. We're still talking about a 4-cylinder engine here, which is like phenomenal output in that case, I would say.
You're right. Yeah, so that is the E-turbo. It's really a transfer of the technology from the Formula One. You know it, it's the MGUH. So it's a monoscroll turbine. You see it on this side. So monoscroll means it's no divided twin scroll or VTG or anything like that. It's a monoscroll, wastegate regulated. On the other side, you have the compressor. So I will tell you something more in detail about the compressor later on. And between the turbine wheel and the compressor wheel, there is a 6 kilowatt E-machine.
Okay, so basically that's what differentiates this turbocharger from a classic turbocharger that the viewers might know as well.
That's the biggest change in that part itself. So an interesting thing is it's really put it direct on the shaft of the turbocharger. So we have the possibility to accelerate the turbine or the turbocharger shaft from idle speed up to maximum speed. We're talking here to 156,000 RPMs for that kind of turbocharger.
So just with the E-machine that's built in here, so we don't need like additional exhaust gas coming in, so you can just spool it up, or?
Yeah, that's a possibility. We can accelerate it more or less without the exhaust gas, more or less. But the idea behind is that we only accelerate the shaft to bring the boost pressure to the engine, and then the engine itself can produce enough exhaust gas or exhaust power to speed up the turbocharger itself. So that's the idea behind. So that's the efficiency of that supported. So it's not necessary to boost it all over the time. It's only for a few short seconds, and the rest is then working from the engine itself. So there we have the benefit of the high power output of the engine itself, so more than 330 kilowatt, as I said before, and have more or less the same or even a little bit higher low-end torque situation. So we can speed up the engine at low engine speed. So and then one additional thing I just told you before is the compressor. That's a big technology in there, the variable inlet compressor.
Okay, now we have a variable component.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not on the turbine side, at least on the compressor side, because now the situation is there that we don't need, as you said before, the exhaust gas to speed up the turbocharger.
Perfect, perfect. So thank you very much for providing insight into this new e-turbocharger.
So alongside that belt-driven starter generator that helps turn the engine on when you come out of EV mode and is completely indiscernible, that M139 is producing 442 brake horsepower just by itself. So it is the most powerful production four-cylinder in the world. And that's before any of the cool stuff comes in, or the other cool stuff rather, which is all on the rear. And I'm of course talking about the EDU unit, or the electric drive unit, and the AMG Performance battery. Now normally in a performance hybrid, you would have your batteries in the rear as normal, but your electric motor would sit between the combustion engine and the transmission. And AMG have not done that. Instead, they've put the EDU on the rear axle. And it's a really clever little unit because it houses three really important integral parts in that compact design. The first thing is the electric motor itself, and it is a permanently excited one. If you've heard me say that before, it's like you find in the Taycan, for example, in the top level versions. We also have a 2-speed transmission. Again, if you heard me say that, it's from high-level EVs like the Taycan. So your first gear handles things up to about 140 kms, and second gear is for everything beyond that, and it's completely indiscernible once again for the driver. So really clever stuff. And then finally, a more familiar thing, which is the limited slip differential. All of that sitting on the rear. Now, compared to your typical system, this is much more efficient because the EDU is not connected to the transmission, it's not beholden to it, it acts completely independently, and as you'll see, it really helps with energy management and recuperation, as you'll see later. To tell you a little bit more about this, we're going to head over back to Toby to speak to Wolfgang, our AMG expert.
So hello.
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you too. So unlike every other parallel hybrid system what you know so far from the market, which having the e-motor between the combustion engine and the transmission, we have put with our E Performance powertrain the e-motor right at the rear axle. So we have an instant torque when we want to accelerate, and also it's very efficient for recuperating because we don't have any losses from the transmission, from the combustion engine, because we just recuperate in the e-motor and in the battery from the rear axle. And also we have integrated a 2-speed gearbox. In first gear we can go up to 140 kph in first gear, which then would be these 13,500 RPMs.
That's a lot.
Then latest we have to shift into second gear, and then you have still punch up to maximum velocity of your vehicle.
So basically, no matter like how fast I'm going, you're always making sure that I have the maximum amount of electric support and electric power on hand when I floor it.
We also can have an all-wheel drive system or all-wheel drive mode when we have only the electric motor on, so in electric drive. When it's slippery at the rear, we also can push torque to the front.
Oh really? So it goes like from the electric motor in the back, you can also like switch like back and forth.
Yeah, we have a clutch-controlled all-wheel drive system, and then we would open the transmission so that we don't have any drive of the combustion engine, and then we put the electric torque and power to the front.
Perfect. So thank you so much for providing all the infos. Guys, as you can see, it's a super cool and intelligent system that switches the power like basically wherever you need it so that you can go as fast as possible.
So as you heard, we've got a full EV mode in a C63. That's incredible, and you can go up to 130 kilometers per hour. It's normally all rear-wheel drive unless you need power, and then power can be shifted to the front as well via the cardan and the drive shafts, as you can see. So it's going to be really interesting. It really feels like the current new M3 feels like a generation behind this new thing now, because there's so much technical learning gone into this. Then you come to the next big topic, which is the AMG Performance battery, again linking to F1 learning, but now on the road. The goal was high power increase with low weight gain, and AMG works hand in hand with high performance powertrains. Brixworth, the guys who helped again build the Project One, who work on Formula One as well, to create very special 400 volt, 560 cell battery unit, which again, it sits on the rear. Now, the most impressive thing about this is the cooling, and it's how they've been able to keep the weight low and get the power high. In a traditional system, your batteries will be cooled by either air or water, and they have limitations in this because they can easily overheat, and thus over time you can reduce the longevity of the lifetime of the battery as well. AMG haven't done that. They want to give you guaranteed power. So instead, they've developed a high-tech coolant. And to tell us a bit more about this, we're going to speak to AMG expert Dennis, and Toby's going to ask him a few questions.
This is actually our high-performance battery, and the battery itself is a piece of our Formula One team, actually. So the concept...
Oh, really?
Yeah, right.
That's
The
awesome.
concept and the idea behind it, how do we cool the battery, this is coming straight from the Formula One team. And what we do is we have 560 round cells, lithium-ion cells, and we cool down these cells directly. So we have a coolant fluid on the inside of this battery pack just to cool down the battery. And what you see if you consider a regular battery pack, therefore you have to take out the power just that you don't overheat the battery itself. So if you go up to 60 degrees, for example, you will heat up the battery too much.
Yeah.
And therefore we developed these completely new direct cooled battery. And then you will see what happens if you have this system. We can stay always on 45 degrees for the battery cells.
Continuous, no matter how hard I push it, it will stay consistent.
Definitely.
Awesome, okay.
And you will get 70 kilowatt out of the system continuously. So every time you drive on a curvy road, you hit the corner, you brake into the corner, and then you get the power inside of the battery.
Yeah.
And after the corner, you get the power immediately out of the battery pack. And that's always, so it's always on actually. That's our concept for E Performance.
So that's pretty great if you're like accelerating hard here on Swabian roads and you're like pushing out of the corner, you have the power instantly available. That's awesome. So Raz, that's it from Stuttgart. I think we've learned a lot about E Performance, a lot about the F1 technology. Thank you for having me back to the UK.
So you have super thin cooling modules and coolant all developed at home at a Falterbach, and these can cool all of the cells and make sure that the temperature stays at a stable 45 degrees. So you will always get a 93 brake horsepower increase over the standard combustion engine. So you always have 540 brake. But at peak, for 10 seconds, you can get an additional 200 brake horsepower, which brings that figure up to 643 for the whole system, which is incredible. And another, I think, 320 Newton meters of torque. The total weight of the battery is about 89 kg, and it gives us power to weight density of about 1.7 kilowatts, which is about double of what you get in a traditionally cooled system. So they've really done well in keeping the weight down, but the power sky high. Then we come on to energy recuperation that I mentioned, and you get 4 different levels, all selectable from your AMG steering wheel, 0, 1, 2, and 3. The last one giving you up to 90 kilowatts regen. So guys, there you have it. You have an EDU, you've got an AMG Performance battery, all sitting at the rear. So we have the weight distribution on axle for this car with your engine and your E-turbo on the front, and your EDU and your performance batteries on the rear. This should give a naturally more balanced handling characteristic, and you need it because it's 200 kg over, the equivalent car that doesn't have that system. So it'll be interesting to see what it drives like. I really hope that that inherent balance gives it good handling, because it's going to need it. It's going to be quite heavy, this car. Now, although this system does add 200 kg of weight, look at the performance we get out of it. You get a consistent 543 brake horsepower, which is 30-40 brake over the current car. And then at peak, you get 643 brake. That's insane. And they've said that the torque figure is greater than our top powered V8s at the moment. So GT63, E63, etc. So a massive torque figure. And you get all of that in the low end, thanks to the E-turbo as well. 0 to 60 less than 3.5 seconds. Mind blowing. I can't wait to drive it. I just really hope that the way the components are put, that it doesn't feel as heavy as it's going to be, because it's going to be a heavy car. This entire system is thus a modular concept that can be rolled across all the cars of Mercedes-Benz and AMG. And as you'll see in the next video, there's going to be a V8 setup exactly like this, using the same components but with the 4-litre V8. So stay tuned for that, and there's also news on pure EV AMGs direct from AMG. That will all be in the next video. So I think the car is going to look something like this, which is pretty aggressive. Already the standard C-Class, very aggressive. I think it's going to be even more so. Panamericana grille, bigger lower front end, wider front arches. The driveline we see in Germany at the moment has got 21-inch wheels. Surely the C63 can't have that. Spyshot shows some pretty big ones though. So if it does have it, it'll look very cool. And of course, you'll have the quad pipes on the rear, and the wagon is going to look very, very special indeed, I think, even though it hasn't got rear arches by the looks of it, sadly. A lot of people have asked me, is there a coupe? No coupe coming. The C Coupe has been cancelled, but hold out hope for a future CLK type car, like a 4 Series. So a mix between the C and the E Coupe, and who knows, maybe you'll get the V8 hybrid system across everything you have, guys. So I'm your typical C63 customer, guys. I've owned about 11 of them, still have 2 with the Black Series and the C63S. And this car really fascinates me. I was scared by it, which I was with the 4 litre as well. But now with all the F1 tech in it, I can't help but be excited. I can't wait to see what is it like when you bring F1 tech on the road in a road car. And let's be honest, the best AMGs ever have always been the ones that have brought stuff from motorsport directly onto a road car. And no doubt it's clever, but the missing factor here is going to be emotion. It has to be emotional, at least in the way it drives, and hopefully somewhat in the way it sounds. So guys, thank you so much for watching this. If you enjoyed it, please do like, subscribe, and share this video. And send a comment to Toby. It's his first show on RBR. Be great for him to hear from you guys as well. So thank you once again. Stay tuned for that V8 episode, and I'll see you guys again next time.